All right. All right, let's get started. Thank you very much for joining in for an afternoon conversation. This is something that Kelp does every month. What we, for those who've joined us for the first time, this is our way of giving back to the society. What we do is we pick up the topic of Kelp, of PoSH, and we've broken it down into various small nuggets. It's basically for us to navigate the entire workplace space and understand that what are those dynamics which play and which impacts PoSH as a compliance, right? Today's conversation is about workplace relationship. We work for 8 to 10 hours or more, and we have various relationships which plays a part, right? We have different kinds of people in the organization. They come from different gender, they come from different society background, they come from various regions, religions, age, okay? All kinds of complexities they bring in on table. So and February month being the Valentine's month, we thought that relationship, which actually takes up 50% of the cases that we look at on regular basis, what better month than to talk about relationship at workplaces? It is not only romantic relationship, but it could be various kinds of relationship that we'll be discussing, right? Introducing myself, my name is Smita. I am CEO and founder of Kelp. Started this company in the year 2013. Idea was to bring in aspects of PoSH under one umbrella. So, prior to 2013, I know because I come from a background of an IT company where we used to look for resources for PoSH under various buckets. So if we wanted a social worker, we would go hunting for a social worker. If we needed training needs, we used to look for another agency to support. So when we started Kelp, we thought, let's bring all of this under one roof. So corporates don't have to really go on this hunt. Okay, that was the idea of starting Kelp. When in 2020, we realized, and a lot of conversations were happening, lawyers play a very important role in this space, okay? Because PoSH is driven by a law which came to us in 2013, and Indian Lawyers Association attached with us, and they said we want to give back to society. So we have created these learning nuggets with them. Yeah. Today I have two wonderful speakers with me. You see them there, Nyan Shah and Rashmi Jagger, two powerful women whom I have known personally in my two lives. One with Nyan, I worked in Emphasis. She is my senior, a strong woman I have always looked up to. She is the SVP and global head at Emphasis. She's also a co-chairperson of ASSOCHAM. She does a lot of work in the space of diversity, equity, inclusion. And most important, she works for an IT organization, ITES also. So we see that there are various generation which comes in play in the organization that she's working, right? So idea for bringing her was so that we could pick her brains in that space. Alongside, we have Rashmi Jagger, with whom I worked as a consultant for her organization. She works for a very large organization herself called DDB Mudra. She's a VP Finance. And, she breaks the myth, the first myth that women and finance do not mix, right? So she is somebody who has broken that taboo for all of us, very senior. And, when I was working alongside her, I realized that having strong, straight opinions really matter, especially when you're handling sexual harassment complaints. Having clarity in thought really matters. So being a consultant, I have learned a lot from her. So thank you, Nyan. Thank you, Rashmi.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on this discussion panel and working with Smita. I hope this session is educative for us also. We also will be able to understand, a lot of things that they're not called out or listed out, in written format in a lot of our manuals. But these practices do help, when we share these practices and understandings, it do helps us evolve to a situation which might come up in the future.
Thank you. Nyan, I hope I have introduced you appropriately. Do you want to add anything to it?
Sure. So thank you. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me over to speak to all of you today. Truly appreciate this opportunity. Thanks to all of you at Kelp as well. And looking forward to this interesting conversation with Rashmi. My name is Nyan Shah, and I work for Emphasis in the capacity of the Global Head HR and also for DEI and employee engagement. I've managed to spend 29 long years in IT industry in HR. As you all would agree, I think IT and ITES industry sector is fairly young in India and has an average of about 27 to 32 year, age group. That's the typical age of employees here. But in more established markets like the US, the average would slightly be a little higher, maybe 32 to 37, but still young, I would say. So in IT, the skew towards, is always towards the youth. And there are several reasons for that, mostly because of rapid technological changes requiring current and updated skills. And this industry, if you have noticed, has relatively grown and expanded over the last few decades, hiring digital natives. So we have a large population in our organization which gets pumped in at junior levels in IT, which are fresh engineering graduates from colleges and campuses across the country. And our hiring ratios are generally 50-50, both genders, male as well as female. As we all know, women in STEM across the world are largely underrepresented, and particularly in the computer science, engineering, and physics background. This lack of gender presence all through your engineering days and at workplaces creates an attraction for the opposite gender in minds and also in the action. So this divide creates behaviors which sometimes are unintended but received very differently, thereby creating conflicts at workplace. Digital natives have, as we all know, I've got a few at home. My children, I would call them digital natives, have grown up immersed in technology right from birth. They develop rather distinctive characteristics, and then that set them apart from the previous generations, like ourselves. They learn more through experimentation rather than following instructions. We have people coming in from diverse backgrounds in our industry, coming from various parts of the country. And it gets very interesting to kind of, understand and appreciate the differences that people bring along with them. It's differences of upbringing, differences of cultures, differences of food, clothing, everything, right? And that kind of creates, some kind of a, attraction, leading to maybe getting familiar with people or friendly with people at work. This we spoke about IT all along. When you talk about ITES, which is just a subset, we have even younger population coming out of junior colleges across different stratas of society. And they have a different challenge. They have time poverty. Where they have limited time for relationship building, and maintaining those relationships outside of work poses a challenge. They have getting into a relationship seems a lot easier, but sustaining it and making it work with the demands that the relationship could have on your time, your freedom of being just yourself, and the inability to partner with someone in boundaries defined by the work seems to be a challenge in most of the cases. So I think with that, I just rest my case and just setting the stage in terms of the industry I come from. What are the typical employee categories that we have? Where all do they come from? Just to give you a sense of what I would be covering in the next few minutes with you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And that actually, I would push Rashmi also to share that what are the different kinds of people in your organization? I mean, you also come from an organization which has more of young blood within it, right?
Yeah, so GDB Mudra is it's an erstwhile advertising agency. It's the first Indian aid agency which has reached this far. We are an old organization. Our entire panel of workforce is actually a very, very young and a dynamic workforce. And that's the need of this industry. I mean, this industry is more about a lot of showbiz and a lot of glamour, and the outside world is everything that's possible. And everything is getting, picked up from the Western culture, Western markets, all the evolved markets, and India is becoming so brand conscious. The entire workforce who's driving this change and bringing around this entire communication in the entire masses, they have to be like supersonic on the brand evangelist list. And this young generation is the one that actually drives our entire workforce. So yeah, we too have a very diverse age group within our organization. We have some who are retiring in the organization, and we have those who are joining us fresh from college. So it's a vast mix of people, vast mix of cultures, vast mix of skill sets, knowledge. There's Gen Z, there's Y2K kids, all kinds of kids who are coming in with their set of cultures and understandings, and their euphoria of how they want to look at life ahead, dream ahead, because this is all about what you dream and what you imagine, and you bring that out in the work. So, and creativity is our sword. That's what we use for coming up with the wonderful creatives that we keep churning every day, through the months and the years, and a lot of fandom through the awards that they get, where they do meet seniors in the advertising space, not just in India, but across the world. So yes, it's a handful of emotions that we are handling. And we do learn with all of them along how to handle each of their, I should not say tantrums. I should say that's their sharp skill sets that that help us. But yes, we do have to kind of moderate it at times, use it to the best of the person as well as the organization, so that everything is cohesively building into the organization's benefit, into the employees' benefits, and also to the society.
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, Nyan, for setting that context. So the idea of bringing the two of you from organizations which are younger, because you also have leadership team which are maybe an X generation. I think, Rashmi, if you're saying you're the oldest organization, you might have some baby boomers also sitting in in the management category, right? So
Yes.
idea is to help our audiences today to understand the various complexities in these relationships that occur, right? Youngsters, young to old, old to young, all kinds of place. And Nyan's, when you are hiring people, you are bringing in people from various region, right? Because computer science is something that it is far wide, and people aspiring from tier 2, tier 3 cities are also coming in, joining the organization. But your organization is employing 50%. So that mix, I have never seen a woman working alongside, a woman in my class alongside, a girl alongside. But now I go to a workplace where I see different genders and they are at par. So how do I behave with them? How do I talk to them? What are those boundaries? So clearly today's conversation is going to be there, that is there any checklist of boundaries? When does the professional boundary becomes personal? And explore any initiatives that the organization has come up with, any leadership conversations that really help, or bystander interactions. How do we deal with all this is something that we are going to explore today. So I'll jump in directly to the set of questions that I have in my mind so that we can explore this further. I would expect audiences to start putting in their thoughts also on the chat so we could pick up the questions along the way. So Rashmi, I'll come directly to you, okay? So my first thought or question is that how can employees differentiate friendly interactions, harmless banter, or behavior that is to be considered as harassment? I mean, is there a check? Is there a, template to it? You were speaking on mute, Rashmi, you're speaking on mute.
I'm so sorry. So we are in the advertising space and we do create a lot of communication for our clients. That's kind of our work. But internally also, we do keep putting up a lot of communication around behaviors that are expected in organization. I mean, they're all said, we've studied, and everyone comes from a management college or in their educational academics learnings, they would have seen or read about it, but it's good to call out. So we do call out on behavior. We have it in our HR manual, but frankly, these lines are not explicitly said out. A lot of things depends on how people are behaving internally, and there's always an education to the managers to help observe and identify, if there is anything which is seeming intruding, which is seeming awkward, or can put, someone in a very awkward position, does not seem appropriate. So then the managers do observe this and take it up with HR team, or maybe speak to the reporting boss of that person in case if there is any behavior which is seeming out of place.
Yeah.
So it's very much from observation, looking at the behavior of the person, looking at how he is behaving with A versus B, when there is a lot of work, or when there is, he's relaxed, probably, with a context to probably he's very stressed, and hence if his banter it can be excused, cannot be excused. But looking at observing these patterns in case if there are any. And we do, yes, keep counseling our entire workforce. And then our MD also does this, that you should always speak up to whatever it is. Like one of the acronyms of DDB is dare to dream, dare to believe. You should dare to do a lot of things. So we have been, always championing this cause about saying, open up, speak up. It can be for anything. Maybe it is work, maybe it is creativity, maybe it is behavior, maybe it is something which you think is needed in the organization, irrespective of rank and behavior. You can always pick up these points and speak to your managers. So that education is there within the entire workforce. And such behaviors, in case if there is anybody who is noticing, they do take it up with HR. So it's not necessary that there's you have to be putting it down the HR manual saying these are the 4 templates that you follow, but observation on behavior, every manager does for his workforce, and sees to it, that such things do not get unnoticed for long.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rashmi, what you're saying is bang on. I remember our days, I mean, I'm talking about 1990s. My kids call me from dinosaur age, which is different when we hit workplaces, right? For longest of the long time, I did not know that this is something that can be reported. This is something that I am feeling uncomfortable. I am not sure. I am not sure if I can concentrate on work if this kind of behavior is going on, but I was not even sure that I could report it, right? So I think from 90s to 2025 that we are, lot of thing has changed and has helped us achieve, or as you rightly said, the conversation now, it is driven by leadership. Those days were the days when these conversations were taboo. But now what has happened is leadership from there when they are driving these, saying that these are the things are red flags, it is making me as an employee saying, okay, I know I have a voice and I own my voice. So thank you for that. I will ask Nyan that what are those legal and ethical consideration for consensual relationship at workplace, because we're dealing with relationships. So what are those under PoSH compliance? Have you heard about
Okay.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the legal we'll segregate this. So we'll do legal first, then we'll do ethical. Because it's two questions, right? So the legal consideration, I think the PoSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013, does not prohibit consensual relationships at work, but it definitely protects against harassment, any kind of coercion, or any power imbalances that can arise from such relationships. So, in cases where there is a workplace relationship which turns bad or it turns sour, one party may claim harassment, retaliation, or a hostile environment. All of these things can lead to a PoSH investigation. Companies with global operations, where you have multiple offices across regions, across countries, must also comply with certain international workplace policies, such as your equal employment opportunity, which is the EEO laws in the US, or if it's UK, it's the UK's Equality Act, and so on. Under the ethical considerations, relationships between employees in superior subordinate, where there is a power play involved, roles, can create conflicts of interest or favoritism or some kind of a perceived bias impacting workplace dynamics. Ethical concerns arise, when one party feels pressurized or pressured or uncomfortable, but continues the relationship due to career implications. And going back to what you said, Smita, way back in 1990s, we all knew that there are certain, provisions for going and talking about it, announcing it, and telling people there are certain protocols. But at what stage and age are you in the hierarchy makes a hell lot of a difference. So if you're way too junior, you have multiple other pressures that you have to really think about, and what kind of implications will a complaint such as this have on your career? It becomes a core concern. And to mitigate risks, companies should have, I think, clear policies on workplace relationships, encouraging disclosures in reporting hierarchies, especially because that is where the issues all start, and how is it that we can prevent retaliation. So that's my two bits on this.
Absolutely, Nan. I agree. And I would remind the audiences about Fanish Murthy's case. Infosys, there was a co-founder called Fanish Murthy, was in consensual relationship with his secretary, and how Infosys had dealt with it, right? Though it is a consensual relationship, but as you rightly said, Nyan, the power play, okay? The moment I'm okay, you are okay, everything is hunky-dory. Moment I'm okay, but you are not okay. And if the person is not stopping, and then this power play and everything is looked at. So my thumb rule to all the leaders across is, please do not get involved with your juniors. If you're getting involved, please declare it and ensure that you are not in the same hierarchy. I know it is very difficult because we're talking of modern relationships, right? People are not happy to disclose if they have an extramarital affair. As an organization, as internal complaints committee, we are not moral policing anybody here. We just want to ensure that our employees are safe. And for that reason, tomorrow they can't turn around and say that it was a mutual relationship. But as a leader, you should have known more, and you should have disclosed or moved out of that chain of hierarchy. Okay. You just can't say it was consensual relationship, right? So this is something that we always keep talking about it every now and then. And Rashmi will agree to it that how many times we have had these situations where, where we are saying, if you're a leader, there is no way out. I mean, this is what it is. All right. Rashmi, my next question is to you, that how can organizations educate employees on appropriate workplace conduct without creating an overly restrictive work environment, like, we are moral policing it, you have to wear blinkers, all that. So is there any template? Is there any ideas?
Uh, in our organization, no, we don't have any templates around what the behaviors should be, because again, the more the templates and more the rules and the ways of do's and don'ts that you start publishing and painting on the walls of the office, it becomes like, oh my God, this is a very choky place, and it kind of curbs all the creative juices of the creative minds that we have hired to get our work done. And obviously that's not what we want. We want them to be more engaging, working in the best of the, in that free space of mind, so which does not restrict their imaginations. So hence, I don't think I myself don't feel that, we should be having such do's and don'ts on behaviors. But yes, as managers, everyone should be observant, is what I think. They need to be able to distinguish between behavior acceptable, non-acceptable, and call it out. When I see my manager working on it, I see, there is supposedly, if I notice a behavior which is not, I'm a bystander, probably I'm not the affected person. But when I see something like this, and I see that, there is a mention that happens that probably it's not seeming right, and the manager picks it up, has a discussion, and in the next meeting, similar setup, the behavior is curtailed. So this shows, that people are responsive, people are looking into these points, and the word spreads. So that's the best that happens. And as a regular forum, every quarter we have our MD educating the entire workforce, as I mentioned, about speaking up, speaking about anything which is seeming not in place, not right, and the word spreads.
Yeah.
So a lot of it goes by practice. It's not that, there is an instance, hence it's happening. Hence we are asking everybody to speak up. But if we keep doing it persistently, then the culture of the organization turns out to become a space where people are safe. They are okay to listen, okay to respond to points like this and work around it, change themselves, so that, the culture of the office, the environment of the office is more on professional and for working in a happy mode.
Absolutely. Bang on. Bang on. What you said is, more you paint it, more it will become restricted, and then it will become, under the carpet conversation.
Because it is restricted, saying don't do it, I should do it, but I should try and do it in a corner. That's the mindset that goes into it.
Absolutely. But as you rightly said, it is a practice, and people practice what leaders practice. If you preach, but you practice something else, it doesn't work. And what you said is bang on. Nyan, I wanted to ask you if how do workplace relationship impact professional dynamics, and where should organization draw line? Actually, a step up from what Rashmi just mentioned.
So I think workplace relationships can have both positive and negative impact. So the positive impact is where it can create a supportive and engaged workplace when handled professionally. It can also enhance, I would say, collaboration and teamwork if personal relationships do not interfere in professional decisions. But many a times it so happens these are matters of the heart, and they just tend to go beyond the mind, and tend to have a negative impact, where it is perceived, or it could be actual favoritism, which can damage morale and the team trust. That is a possibility. Workplace gossip gets generated and can affect credibility and reputation. That is definitely a negative impact because people start seeing you with a lens. Conflicts from personal relationships, more often, every time it's not hunky dory, everything is not lovey dovey. These things can spill into work interactions, affecting productivity. Um, where organizations should draw a line is, I think, formal relationship in most organizations are known to all, and it is the informal relationships that are mostly hidden or untold, as they pertain to two individuals working in close proximity or contact, and can be purely a result of proximity at work. So relationships between direct supervisors and subordinates should be strictly regulated or discouraged due to inherent power imbalances, as we discussed about this a little earlier. Companies should mandate, I would say, disclosure of relationships involving reporting hierarchies, especially to avoid any kind of bias in, say, promotion or performance evaluation or any resource allocation and so on. Harassment policies must be enforced to ensure that relationship remains consensual, it remains professional, and it remains non-disruptive to the work environment. I think relationships, especially with the youth, are dominated largely by hormones and defined by attraction, emotional intensity, and social behavior. Work is a place which has defined boundaries. It is a place of coming together to deliver results for the organization. It is governed by policies and fair practices, the workplace. So it's a matter of the heart versus the matter of a defined, well thought out, protected environment. So erratic behaviors arising out of relationships, if not regulated, can cause havoc to the individuals involved and also to a large extent to the organization.
Absolutely, Nyan. What you said made absolute point, saying that these, the professional boundaries that needs to be drawn, we need to watch it. We cannot always define it, right? And there should be these conversations which are effective at workplaces. And, oversharing also becomes a little difficult. And there is a need for sharing. I won't call it oversharing or undersharing. I will say sharing is important, right? Rashmi, bystanders, do you think they help um, in preventing any form of harassment? And how can they intervene effectively, do you think?
Yeah, I think they do play a very, very important role because it's not just about the two people. So in an organization, there are so many functions who are working together. There are groups for various discussion points or any projects or work agendas, which are taken up together. So in such cases, if there is a relationship between two people, probably, because they are so emotionally attached, they are actually immune to what's around them and who's there and who's not there. But probably their actions or the way they interact, that could be a little awkward for others. Definitely, it is going to have an impact on work also because, I mean, whatever said and done with no intent, probably also work will get affected because you're not able to put your 100% to the work. So I see that, work would also get affected. And that's where, the bystanders or those who are going to be using the information or the work that the next step on the project cycle, they will have things which are probably not completed in the form and fashion that was expected or the ask, and it will lead to, uh, more rifts between the team. So the entire cohesiveness being the fabric of the project would kind of, get ripped off. And that's where bystanders will get affected with the work. And yes, there will be a mention about it there. That's when they should, take it up with their managers, inform them about, things which are not seeming okay. probably they don't have a problem with nobody would have any problem with the relationship of two people, which is mutual, consensual. But if it's affecting work, then definitely they should take it up and have a discussion, request the management or maybe HR to have a discussion with those people to behave more responsibly, in the work environment, because in the organization, they have certain roles and they have certain deliverables, task by task, day by day. Those should not get affected. So it's important. Bystanders should have that, should have that intelligence of observing these things and taking it up to HR in case if they don't, obviously they shouldn't be picking up a discussion with anyone on that matter. It wouldn't be seeming right, but do definitely talk to HR about it so that, the matter gets addressed or it's get taken up.
Absolutely. So if they are just talking amongst themselves, then it just becomes a gossip, the water cooler conversation that Nyan was mentioning, right? It is not helping the cause. And as a bystander, I strongly feel, and we've seen that 95% or 99% of the times, we are all bystanders. 1% of person are actually a victim or a respondent to a particular case. So if 99% of us are trained how to handle a particular situation, I think that's a win for an organization. I think organizations should heavily invest in training bystanders continuously. And with that, I have another question, Jan, for you specifically, because you spoke about disclosure multiple times, right? So do you think we should organizations have a formal policy to it? Or it should be, I get a lot of times pushback from organizations saying, disclosure, why should am I being moral policing? So do you think organizations should have a formal policy on no? Some organizations have it, some organizations just do not believe in it. So what is your take on it?
Correct. So let's understand the role of the disclosure first. I think disclosure, what does disclosure do? It basically prevents conflicts of interest and it ensures transparency in decision making. It also allows the HR and the management to proactively manage reporting structures to avoid any kind of favoritism claims. And it also helps organizations to protect employees from perceived retaliation or coercion in case of a breakup. So, keeping in mind that this is the role of the disclosures and this is how it's going to benefit, companies should have clear documented policy, if not a policy, at least a guideline where which workplace relationships must be disclosed, especially where we are talking about a manager subordinate or a team lead or a team member and so on. And the process for disclosure should ensure confidentiality and non-retaliation. If these things are taken care of, then I think you are by and large sorted. And also, even if you make a policy or make a guideline, it's extremely important that you need to have awareness building around it, because there are so many things in the policies that we put up, but not necessarily it is right up there for people to see, or there has to be some amount of positive reinforcement that should happen. Steps should be taken after disclosure, such as reporting line changes or role reassignments. These are concrete steps that you take after a disclosure happens. I mean, you don't just do a disclosure and then you leave it to that, because there has to be something, there has to be a closure to a disclosure. So failure to disclose should lead to appropriate corrective actions, including disciplinary measures in cases of conflict of interest. So that is the idea. But I would go one step further. I think broken relations have subsequent ripple effects on work interactions, and it damages self-esteem of employees, and they could suffer from, any broken relation involving criticism, blame, or professional setbacks, right? There could be questions raised on employees' competence, their likability, and their value to the organization. So
Yeah.
a sense of isolation somewhere can creep in, thereby withdrawing from workplace social networks when these channels are most needed for the person. Productivity typically would decline as emotional distress will start consuming the mental energy. So one needs to develop healthy coping strategies apart from these disclosure mechanisms for seeking support with professional help, such as counselors or even trusted colleagues, and reaching out to official channels in place to address such issues at work.
Absolutely, bang on. And with that, I move to a very important question of the day, that how should internal committees approach complaints involving workplace relationship to ensure that it is fair? I'm coming to Rashmi to it because you've been a presiding officer, Rashmi, and we see whenever a complaint comes, there has been a complexity in the relationship. And as an IC, we go with preconceived notions saying that you, there is some background baggage to a particular complaint. uh, I also see multiple times ICs thinking that if they were in mutual relationship, then why bring it on our table, and what has triggered it, right? Till like yesterday it was okay and today it is not okay. So question to you, that how should internal complaint committee, I mean ICC, be involving in this, and what to ensure it is fair process?
So our the entire PoSH Act and the rules, the guidelines that we follow when we look at cases that come up is, um, how has the behavior been? Has the person felt uh, anything harming? Was she feels awkward? She was not comfortable, and she felt that this is a an advancement which is not acceptable. Uh, a behavior which is obviously not allowed under PoSH. If it's coming in from that lens, so when the complaint comes as IC, we have to be overtly attentive to what are the discussions, what are the context that the person has come up with, and also uh, hear the person more, the aggrieved person or the affected person, the complainant, who has been through a behavior which she has not felt comfortable with. She has felt sexually harassed. In such a case, it's very, very important, that we do call out, uh, understand what has evolved, uh, keeping the workplace relationship that they had in the past, whatever was consensual. And there's a huge amount of hearing and understanding of the entire situation that comes up. Uh, I mean, every case comes up and we learn more around it. But yeah, these behaviors are very different. They're very unique. They need not be copied repeatedly. They would be different. So yes, but the judgment around the entire case has to be very, very careful, uh, very informed, after hearing not just the complainant and the respondent, but also those who were working around it, the witnesses who would have noticed any such behavior which is untoward, not welcome, has put a discomfort to the person, and the person has been affected with the behavior. So it's very challenging, um, in case if such a situation does come up. But IC's responsibilities, obviously, they just get more important, and they just stem up to high level of importance, uh, to work on, to make sure that every page of the discussion is being thought through and heard properly, to get to a proper judgment on the entire matter.
Absolutely. What you said is bang on. I think that is why we don't have AIs resolving cases. We have human minds listening and listening attentively so that they can apply their experiences. But what I've also noticed that the perpetrators are also listening. Like, we have had cases where people say, oh, crime patrol, we have seen, and that's why we try to escape. perpetrators are also reading the case laws and knowing how to defend themselves. So it is going to be trickier for IC, just going to get trickier and trickier because you're now dealing with well-informed perpetrators and also complainants. They know their rights. So it is a very tricky future, I would want to say, right? Coming back to Nyan, is it from HR because you're an HR person? So what steps should HR take when a workplace relationship ends? And once a party feels uncomfortable or harassed, I think you've touched upon it in your earlier this, but if you want to summarize it, would really be helpful.
Uh, I think most young employees would value work environments where they can balance personal autonomy with professional responsibility. Like Rashmi said, a choky place limits creativity. Um, I think my immediate response would be to hold separate conversations with both parties and understand the situation, which is basically if a complaint arises, HR must assess the nature of discomfort and determine if harassment has occurred. Assess if workflow or reporting line changes are needed by offering mediation or role adjustments. If no harassment is found but discomfort remains, consider team changes or role shifts or mediation sessions. Communicate clear expectations of professional behavior. Consider sometimes temporary physical separation if tensions are high. From a policy framework, I feel develop clear relationship disclosure policies before issue arises, establish protocols for handling breakups in reporting relationships, create guidelines for managers to maintain team cohesion, and keep reviewing and updating your anti-harassment policies to address post-relationship concerns. And from a PoSH compliance perspective, if one party reports harassment, coercion, or retaliation, a formal PoSH investigation must be conducted under the organization's internal committee, which is the IC, and ensuring non-retaliation measures, such as the affected employee should not face any kind of, which is very important, by the way, career setbacks or project removals or any kind of performance downgrades. So that's how I would like to sum that up.
Thank you. I think you have summarized it beautifully. Important from an HR lens because HR employers, they are the people who are owners of this policy. So this support really helps IC committee. Yeah. So thank you for that. Rashmi, coming to you, that what are those proactive measures can organization implement to foster a culture of respect and allowing personal connection to exist? So, you also touched upon it that we need to create that balance. So if you want to give 1, 2, 3 things that you want to leave the audiences with?
So, see, again, on culture, the more we speak, the more it gets written out in the walls rather than the pamphlets and the internal communication, which are for do's and don'ts, which are posted on the organization's board. But yes, I think the best window that we have is our appraisal windows, where HR is also there along with the reporting managers. That's where a person thinks outside of his workforce, opens up on a lot of things which he felt good, not felt good, noticed something. Those can be, windows where discussions like this can be taken up to educate them as well, and to hear from them in case if, they have anything, because even they are evolving, they're young minds and they are looking at a lot of things. They are more exposed to a lot of digital information that is coming to them, especially in our industry, where every person is looking at every social media page, hearing, seeing, and talking to a lot of brands, a lot of people across various markets and various genders. So they do also have an opinion, of how they want their workplace to be. So such appraisal windows, I think, are a good talking point of hearing from them as well, that how would they want their workplace to be when they set up their own organization, which they all want to do a startup. How and what do they want, in terms of a culture that they would want to create for themselves and for their co-workers. A lot of ideas do come in from there. And then HR works together with the management to, probably make refinements in the policies, also improve on certain things which were pointed out, which may be immediate, recent case, or probably something which may not have been very awkward for somebody, but one of the bystanders had noticed it. So these can become, points of bringing around a change in behaviors in the workforce, in the on the work tables, in the cafeterias, in the smoking zones that they have in our organization. So in these places, so I think it helps everyone. Wherever we've reached today is also a culmination of a lot of our predecessors who have, been thinking on these points along with their work, along with their regular agendas and roles in the organization, of making a work environment and a workspace which works for everyone as well as the organization, so that the best of productivity can be, garnered from the entire workforce. So I think that is a step which we can take, and it will definitely be helpful to almost all organizations if it's, practiced in that manner. And HR, yes, plays a very important role in percolating this entire culture down to every person that they speak to, or anyone who comes up to them for counseling or for questions, clarifications. These kind of counseling to each person will definitely help. So our HR does this regularly. Whenever any of the leaders has any discussions, we have open door policies as well. So our leaders also are always open to suggestions, and they do sit with the person with a cup of coffee to hear what he wants to add to the organization, workforce, the culture, and the environment in order to make it a better place.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we are taking back so many thoughts, ideas, because I am telling you, it is becoming trickier and especially when there are workplace relationships going on in play, because it's not only romantic relationship. Nowadays, we talk about casual relationship, we talk about flings, and I think Sandhya has put in this question here, which I found was very interesting. Dr. Sandhya Advani, she's saying one of the concerns while declaring relationship is people fall in and fall out of love. Yeah, relationship go through highs and lows. When does an individual say that they are in relationship? After 3 dates, after 4 dates? She's asking for template that I was asking y'all, you didn't give it to me. When do they say it has terminated? How does an organization manage when employee base is large and people get in and out of relationship? So I will, Sandhya, try and attempt to tell you that there is no straightforward response to it, right? It is a call of a person. It is a personal judgment. A person wants to declare it. Can we put a template? I don't think. I heard the two leaders here saying the same thing, that it is your own self. It is your, own thought processes. It is to safeguard yourself. So organizations can put down some pointers to help them, but can they carve out a template? I heard the leaders saying no. Rashmi, Nyan, you want to add anything to this?
No, templates, actually, templates create a resistance for the person to accept what you're trying to convey to them. The minute you say template, it's like, okay, this is not something that is.
They'll find a loophole.
Yeah,
they'll
definitely.
A template.
Definitely they'll do. But I think it's as managers. I mean, there was an instance where relationships in our organization, which was there. It wasn't affecting. It wasn't in the direct same functional reporting. Nothing at all. But then yes, the manager was observant, and there's time that also goes. Those who are the relationship, there would be some amount of time from the work day which will go into into their fostering of the relationship. Even that is that is something which we have to be mindful of. So yes, as managers, as HR, as senior team members, we have to be vigilant about productivity, about time, the resources that we have in our organization, and is it affecting work? That's, I think, one of the first triggers that can be, taken up as a message which needs to be done with those people and spoken to them.
Yeah.
Again, counseling them, saying nobody is having any objection to your relationship, but yes, if you do make a disclosure, it will keep everybody clear about what it is and how it is to be treated, and have that amount of tolerance which you all are expecting, because it's a relationship within the organization. That tolerance can be, built in. And in case if there are breakups, then if you mention, then it will help, align the workforce accordingly. The reporting structures, the ways, the working together of those team members. Probably if they are kept together, again, it will affect work. Again, it will affect their productivity. It will cause somebody else's work getting held up. So this counseling, I think, is very, very essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think disclosures also help in promoting acceptability, right? If you, rather than waiting for people to guess and find out and gossip and talk about and witness and bystander witnessing, a disclosure at times kind of eases all of the pains. But I would say that use a real world example in PoSH training instead of rigid rules. Encourage more open conversations. If you want, you can do anonymous Q&A sessions to clarify workplace conduct without having the fear of judgment. And last but not the least, I think respect first, promote that culture which
Yes.
emphasizes boundaries, mutual respect, and consent. So I think that is what will help.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bang on, bang on. Consent, boundaries, respect. I think where instead of digging up a problem, I think take few steps back and in totality look at it. That what is our culture? What do we want to stand for? Yeah. And slowly and steadily, and I've seen these organizations, right? I've watched around 1,500 organizations in last 11 years that I've been. I see, I can make out the culture of the organization and vis-a-vis what are the challenges that they're going through. Sanjay Taswani has a question. He says, if consensual relationship are discovered or declared, is the organization better off asking them to put in their papers? No, no, Sanjay, no. We are not moral policing unless there is a requirement for it. I think some organizations have put in such policies. I am not a big fan of it, but there are these policies where they don't say put in their papers, but they might transfer the two people to different locations, and they have their own set of reasons because their work structure is such that if they have a couple working in their organization, it could lead to uncomfortable workplace for others. So they work in a tight shift, they work in smaller places. So they don't want such situation. They will just move them out. I am not a fan of asking them to put down papers. In fact, there are organizations which encourage consensual relationship. They give out bonuses, by the way, because they feel employee supports employees, and they will be attrition goes down, right? People are interested to come to work if they have a partner at workplace. It's a nice place. I don't see that every time it is a toxic workplace. Yes, sometimes there is a fallout, and we are human beings. Okay, sorry, I read your question halfway and I wanted to respond to this. Okay, put in their papers, distraction to work, and may be perceived as possible leading to issue in future. No, how percentages of that is really, really low. I mean, just because it might become a sexual harassment, we can't stop people, and they're consenting adults, right? I mean, we are not moral policing. As an organization also, we should not. Do laws allow taking such a call? Law doesn't talk about it at all. There is no mention of it at all. And if they refuse to resign, then in such not talking about. They refuse to resign. Then is there much
He's insisting that they should resign.
can do individuals can come back as assuring it won't affect work? Can transfer of one individual to another department be then done? What is the recommendation? Okay, I think I've responded to all your questions saying please don't do it.
So they're just human beings in a different setup. It's not a college environment. It's not a social setting. It's just a work environment where there are different people working, and it's just human to kind of like someone, or whom you're working in close proximity, because of whatever reasons, right? If you also see where people come from and at what age and stage they are, also makes them do different things at workplaces. Like, for example, if you are married and you have a certain void in your relationship, you would search for something to fill that void in the workplace. And if you find that in someone, then most definitely you'll, you know, start feeling affinity towards the person, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple reasons why these things happen. And eventually they're all human beings. So we cannot penalize them with such stringent and rigid rules and regulations. So I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add that part. If they find that void, please, and if they find a person, please be mindful that you have to be in a consensual relationship and not push your way through. Because
Yes.
you have these
Yes.
harassment cases which get stabled, that there's a void. Not necessarily. I've known people who do not have void. They have
Voids also.
they
Yeah.
have amazing married life and they're still looking.
They still fall in love with someone.
They
That's
still fall in
absolutely.
love, which is also okay again, right?
Yeah.
But the other person should be agreeable to your relationship, to your proposition. So that's most important, right? Vijay Lakshmi has made a statement. I don't think it's a question. Not only implications on one's career, but also family pressures to quit job, which they think is easiest and safest way. As more women just started stepping out of work to work, this is additional risk to lose them from the job market. Of course, in fact, I was a victim of one such incident where I am the first woman in my first women lot in my family to step out to work, and in my first organization, I faced something like this. I didn't go back and tell my parents because I knew my parents will say enough. No, that's the end of your career. And yes, women face that and unfortunate situations, yeah, because we're still learning to send women to workplaces or to allow them to work. Yeah. Would be interesting. Sandhya, yes, we will see what
How
we can share.
practical is it for organizations to have this kind of a policy and monitor? Because there are times people get into one night stands and very flings and things like that. I mean, does the organization have got nothing better to do than sit and monitor the dating situation with all the employees?
Sandhya, no. So if you look at the policy and, I can share with you, they don't say that we are going to be monitoring you. It is, as I think Jan mentioned a couple of times, it's about disclosing. Yeah, they have to disclose it. Organization is not going to monitor. And if there is a sexual harassment complaint, they are going to go and look at whether there was a disclosure or it didn't happen. That's it. So maybe we could take it up, and maybe we could write an article on this and publish. Sandhya, as Kelp, we can take that up. Yeah.
Pretty interesting kind of a situation and very, very prevalent.
Yes. I think there are a lot of questions flowing in. What I can do is, because we are at 5:04 and our lovely people who agreed to come and have this conversation with us, they must be having, I promised them 45 minutes, but I've taken more. So I really want to thank them. Thank you very much, Nyan, Rashmi, for coming in for this conversation. I just wanted to summarize this, that this is an aspect which is getting discussed. 50% of our cases fall within this because of relationship going bad, relationship misunderstood, relationship being at the center of harassment. So there is a lot to discuss. There are various case studies that we can bring about, right? there are various biases that come to play. Does 1 hour conversation do justice to it? Maybe not. I have picked up something about publishing a policy which many people can use. I will come back to this group with that, but I really want to thank Nyan and Rashmi for taking the time out, because they brought in the thought process from two young age organization to us, because we got a sneak peek into what really happens within that organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thanks for having
lot
us.
to
Bye-bye.
lot to discuss on this, and learn as we discuss, because we share and we learn. There is nothing which is written anywhere, where you get these experiences and learn and improve on this skill set and this knowledge. Thank you, Smita, for adding us to this discussion. Thank you, Nyan.
Thank
It
you.
was
Thank you
nice
very much.
meeting you.
Likewise. Bye, Rashmi. Bye, Smita.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.